Hi everyone, this is Bobby of Knitter's Niche. Today is Friday, September 9th, 2022. We've got autumn knocking at our door. Actually, it might even be at your doorstep if you step out and just take a notice of the leaves changing and the leaves falling. So we're getting ready for those nice cool days ahead of us. I'm going to talk about, oh goodness, we're going to talk about acquisitions. I got some happy mail. We're going to talk about future knits I've added to my list. We're going to talk about a mystery knit along that I'm going to do, and I'll bet you there's a few of you out there that are going to do it also. We're going to talk about some whips, some finished objects. So let's get started. First of all, I'm going to talk about what I'm wearing. It's the Soldotna Crop. And you know what, before I get going too much on that, let's go ahead and talk about the giveaway that I had in episode 5. It was for my 1,000 subscribers that have subscribed and comment and liked and been so supportive of me. I wanted to do a giveaway. So the giveaway, I presented it last episode, episode 5, and it is over with. I chose to use random comment generator, and what that does, it just randomly chooses the winner on its own. You can see all these names flying in front of you when I did it, and it stopped on one. Now this viewer has been contacted. I haven't heard back from the winner, so when I hear back, I'm going to add it into this video, so it'll be in there when this is uploaded to YouTube. It'll be over here or it'll be over here. So that's done. And let me show you real quick what the winner won. Won the No Problem bag, and also won each of these are 250 grams. They are a heavier DK weight yarn, and the company's name is Mountain Colors, and they are hand painted yarn. And they're just beautiful. And, you know, these will look fantastic. It'd be so nice to do maybe some fingerless mittens. Actually, some gloves even would be beautiful. If you could knit some gloves with those, you could do a scarf. There are 2 different colors, but they coordinate quite well together. So that was the prizes. And also, one of the other items that was a prize was a book by Stephanie Pearl McPhee called Casts Off. She's a very popular author, and she talks about knitting, and it's just funny little quotes and funny little things she's learned along the way. So that's another item that was in the giveaway. So congratulations to the winner, and we'll find out real short who that is. I'll let everybody know. First of all, let's go ahead and talk about what I'm wearing. It is the Soldotna Crop. It is knit in a DK weight yarn. And there is color work, as you can see. And when you're doing color work, you're going to have floats all across that. So you get almost a double thickness when you're doing those floats. So it is a more warm sweater. It is short sleeved and it is cropped. So you can wear it several different ways. But actually this time of year, it's a nice sweater to wear, as I was saying earlier. You know, as summer nights are getting a little cooler, and then the summer days are going to get cooler as we get closer to fall. I'm going to stand up and let you see what I have it on with. It is a sleeveless dress with pockets, and I just put this on top, and you've turned a summer dress into a fall outfit. So this is what I'm wearing, and it is, the designer is Caitlin Hunter, and Caitlin Hunter, she does several beautiful sweaters, just color work that are just, she's very talented, very popular designer. So I would recommend that you check her out. Again, this is the Soldotna Crop. I'm also going to be talking about what I have been knitting on. It's my finished object. You can probably see it right over my shoulder here. It is the Dahlia Cardigan. And the Dahlia Cardigan is knit by Lene, L-E-K-N-I-T, and you can do leknit.com, and you can find this pattern, or you can go on Ravelry, excuse me, and just type in Lene, L-E-K-N-I-T. So let's take a look at it, and I'll talk a little bit about it, talk a little bit about the pattern, what I thought about the pattern, and what I think about the sizing. I had knit it, this is a sport weight yarn that I had knit this with. And so it does not call for sport weight. It calls for lace and fingering, I believe. So this is a heavier gauge than what it calls for. So what I had done, I had knit the smallest size, and I went up to a size 7 needle. I did the collar. I did this. I did just a regular long tail cast on. It does. In the pattern, it does have a different cast on, but I did the long tail cast on in size 4 needle. And then I did the band and then the bottom also in the size 4. Of course, the body and the sleeves were done in the 7. But what I had done on the cuff, on your sleeve cuffs, I had used a size 3. And the reason I did a size 3 is because I wanted it to hug my wrists, and I wanted it to end, well, I'll try it on just a second, let you see where it ends on my arms. And I'm gonna also talk a little bit about the buttons that are on here. These are my grandmother's buttons. My grandma, her name was Amy, and she was just a doll. She was like those grandmas you'd see in storybooks. You know, I grew up and was young in the 60s, and she was just the epitome of a grandmother, just as loving as and kind. And when we would go and see her, we'd go every Sunday to see her. And then as a family, we would all go together. And then in the summertime, my sisters and I, we would go and stay with her for a week in the summer and visit with her. And on several of those occasions, I would she had this closet. You know, you walk in and the first thing you see is her dining room. She didn't have a very big home, but it was such a sweet, sweet, loving home. Anyway, you'd go in, there'd be a dining room, and then there'd be this big, great big furnace on your right. Big, oh, I don't even know what kind of furnace you would call that. It stood up really high. Of course, I was little, so maybe it wasn't as big as I thought it was, that it really is. And then she had a closet, and in that closet, she would have things for us kids to do. You know, she had a big wooden box, and it would have color books and crayons. And of course, the color books, as the years went by, it was the same color books over and over again. Those color books would probably be worth something now because they were very old at the time. And she also would let me go into her bedroom, and she had the old Singer sewing machine. You know, those are still out there. Those are heavy, heavy metal sewing machines. And it had the treadle. It had this, you would push and go up and down to make the sewing machine run. But anyway, she had a tin. It was like a cookie tin. I would call it a cookie tin. I don't know if they called it a cake tin back then. Tin about this deep, and it had a lid. And I would struggle to open that lid. And it was full of her buttons. And I would sit there and sort those buttons and play with them year after year after year when I was quite young. And I remember those, you know, very fondly. Well, I ended up getting those buttons, and not only did I get those buttons, I got even additional ones that my mother had given me. That was my grandmother's, her mother's. So anyway, these are some of the buttons that were my grandmother's. She was born in 1900, and she passed away in 1990. So she lived to be 90. She was just a wonderful lady. So anyway, these buttons, and I think they're made of shell. Each one of them are different. I don't know if you can see. They're very simple buttons. They're very, very cool to the touch. They're not plastic. So I'm thinking that they're made from shells, because I do believe they used to make buttons from shells. And maybe some of you out there are familiar with antique buttons. All I know is I just liked to play with them and sort them when I was little. And I liked to sew too when I was young. Well, I'm going to slip this on real quick so you can take a look at it. Okay, here it is, the Dahlia Cardigan. The fit is perfect. It's just perfect. Everything turned out quite nicely. Here's where I had an end on my wrist, where it's just at the very top of my hand, and it just hugs me nicely. I don't want it to like be bulky or drapey. I wanted to have a little tighter fit in the sleeves. And I just did, went by the pattern, and it worked out great. My gauge turned out absolutely perfect. Now, the pattern itself, the way it's written, I've talked about it in other episodes. The chart is, excuse me, the lace work up here, which would be your dahlia petals or leaves. The yoke here is charted only. The rest of it, of course, is worded, knit one, you know, so on and so forth, has it out. It's worded, but like I said, the chart is for just the lace part. But it worked out quite nicely. I had talked about the one thing that was on the key. When the key, like I've said before, tells you there's symbols on the chart, and the key just tells you what the symbols mean, what stitches each symbol means. And it had one that said no stitch. And I was talking earlier in another episode, like I didn't know what no stitch was, so I had to ask a friend of mine, and she explained it to me. So anyway, it's a delightful knit. It fits nicely. The back fits really, really well through here. There's no German short rows, no wrap and turn or anything. There's no short rows in it at all. But it really ended up, you know, cardigans do sit a little lower on you because you're going to have it over an item. So it does dip down just a little bit, but I don't think it's too far in the back. I mean, I'm not chilly. Sometimes if you have something a little low in the back, then it leaves your neck kind of cool. But I'm very happy with it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to sit here and wear it the rest of the podcast. I enjoy it so much. I just couldn't wait for this to get dry. I did a wet block, and I'm going to insert a little video in here that shows you me putting it in the sink, and then there'll be a photo and showing you it on my mats as it was drying. I didn't pin it, and I'll show you what I had done when I dried it. I didn't want to pin it. I was worried about it stretching out too much. When you do a wet block, you have the heaviness of the water, and of course the stitches are going to come and blend in and be so much more smooth when you wet block it. But you also have to consider the weight of the water, because if you go and if you pin it and stretch it, you really have to be careful not to stretch it out of shape. And a lot of the blocks you have, they have out there have lines on them. So you can just, you know, line everything up on the same line, the sleeves, you know, the hem, the shoulders. And what I also did too, when it was still wet, I did pull up on the back, but I checked it. I would check it twice a day. And it took, for it to dry like it should, it was 3 days for it to dry. So anyway, this is done. I'd highly recommend it. I love it so much. And I had mentioned she's got one that's just short sleeved, and it's in a fingering weight. And of course it's gonna have this design going clear across and around the back also. And she's got a chunky one. Oh, that would be so cute, because I think it's got a folded down collar. Like you knit it further, the ribbing, and then you fold it down, and then you just sew it. You know, really easy to do, but it looks so professional. So I would check her out. Again, this is the Dahlia Cardigan right here. So that's a finished object. So we've got that done. I can check that off my list. And something else that I talked a little bit about last episode was knitting socks. And it's so funny. I said, well, I had never knit a whole pair of socks. The only pair I had knit were the very first pair that I had ever knit. And those were little teeny tiny baby socks. And then I got to thinking, you know what? They had a heel flap and gusset. They had everything in it that, you know, a normal sock would have, an adult sock would have. But they were just little tiny little socks about this big, and the foot was about that big. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference in heels. I've got a couple examples here. Well, 3 examples. This is a sock that I had knit. And what it wasn't that I hadn't knit socks before, but I was thinking I hadn't knit a whole pair before. But I knit slipper socks. But as far as just like fingering weight with sock yarn, it was only those little tiny first ones that I had knit both socks, because this is just a single sock. I haven't done a second one. Okay, this is, okay, the heel, the flap, and then we have the gusset. Of course, presents itself on both sides there. And this is Crazy Sock Lady's basic sock pattern that you can find on YouTube. This is done with fingering weight. I did the cuff, the heel, and the toe in coordinating colors. And then of course this was, you know, I like the yarn, but I didn't know about how it's striped, if I really liked it, but I think I do. It's very fallish, the colors are very fallish. So I'm gonna go ahead and make the second one of those. And those were done, excuse me, with Magic Loop. And Magic Loop, I had used a size US 1 to knit these, and I casted on 60 instead of 64. I'm gonna show you one that I cast 64 on. Another one I had talked about, a little bit about, it might have been my very first episode or the second episode. This is a gorgeous sock. This is called Love Blooms sock. This was a test knit I had done, and if you can see, isn't it beautiful? It's probably one of the most beautiful socks I have ever seen. Now, this has what they call a short row heel, which I had never done before. Okay, and then of course your regular decreases for your toe, and the Kitchener stitch for the end of the toe. So this is done in this fingering weight yarn was actually a little more on the plumper side. It's kind of squishy. It's lovely. It's by Euphoria Knits, and it's just a gorgeous yarn. And the color is called Mermaid Tears, which I thought was just a beautiful, beautiful one. Now here again, this I only have one sock. I just had to do one to complete the test knit, and that's what I did. And of course I moved on to the next thing that I was going to knit. But this is so pretty. I have to knit the second one. Now here is the one that I had talked about, the Magic Heel socks that I was wanting to knit. Okay. And this is by Judy Jewell. She's the Autumn Acorn. And I linked her under the last episode, and I'll link her under this episode too, so you can take a look at some of her other patterns that she has. And then here it is. This is the Magic Heel. Okay, so this is yet another heel. So this is the front. Okay, this is the top. And then that's the back. So that's the Magic Heel. So the sock's gonna come out like this. I'm just about ready to do the toe, and then I'll do the Kitchener stitch to at the end to kind of bring it all together. But this is the Magic Heel right here. So really, there's no heel shaping in this at all. So that would be a fantastic beginner sock to do. And this is your Magic Loop that I was talking about. I believe this one's a 36 inch, and this is done on US #1 needle. So this is the front, and what I have done, I put a little stitch marker to remind me which side's the front, but I don't really need it because this is the heel. So that tells me that's the back. So the way you do Magic Loop, I'm just gonna talk about it briefly. This really isn't a tutorial or anything like that. But what you're gonna do, so you have your two needles. This is the center, so there's 32 stitches here, 32 stitches there. Excuse me, which would be cast on of 64. So your front needle, this is gonna be pushed to there. And your back one, you're always gonna pull the back one, and you're gonna come around, okay? And so your working yarn always needs to be, you're gonna lay it on top of that front needle, okay? And then you're gonna come around here. I'm gonna wrap it around my little finger. And then you're gonna stitch your first stitch here. You can see it or not. And come around. And and you continue on. And you continue on. Now, till you get to the end, and then when you get to the end, I'll take that stitch out. You get to the end, you're gonna turn your work, okay? And then you're gonna do what I just done here. Make the front needle shorter and pull the back one out long and continue on. Continue on. But there's a lot of, there's a few tutorials out there, excuse me, on magic loop. And you know, I have the small, let's see if I've got it here. I do. I have the small 9-inch, excuse me, ChalGoo needles, and this is US #1 also. So yesterday I had to go with my husband. He went to a dermatology surgeon. He had a place on his nose and they had to really get in there and remove it. And they ended up doing extensive reconstruction. I mean, it was quite a day for him. So anyway, I'm there, so I take my knitting with me. And I start with the magic loop that I just showed you, the longer corded needle. And I'm just buzzing along with that. And I thought, well, I'm gonna get these out because I've never tried it. So I got them out, and get them out here for the 9-inch. I mean, they're 9-inch from end to end here. So you're like this. Well, for me, it's difficult. I've had rheumatoid arthritis since I was 30 years old. So I don't know any different, but I do know I have to choose what works smoothly for me in anything that I do. So it's the magic loop that works better. I tried, but I just couldn't get, and they say when you use it, some people really love them. When you use it, you should use more of your fingertips like this. And I'm a continental knitter, so I tend to really grab this side like this, you know. So it was difficult for me, but I'm going to continue to try it. I'm not going to give up on that. I have heard people that really enjoy the number 9, excuse me, the 9-inch ChalGoo needles, and they just buzz right along with it, even faster than the magic loop. But for me, it's more comfortable for me to do the magic loop. But it's so nice that there's different options for different things to do. Oh, you know, okay, I showed you 3 different heels. There's another one, and there's probably even more that I'm not aware of. The other one is called an afterthought heel. And what you do is with an afterthought heel, and I haven't done it yet, but it really sounds like a fantastic idea. You're gonna just knit a tube. Just knit a tube like this, you know, of course, without this magic heel. You're just gonna knit a straight stockinette tube to a certain length. And you go ahead, well, you can do the whole thing. And then you're gonna come back, act like this is the back where the heel would be. You're gonna come back and you are going to run your needle through there where you want. Okay, you have a needle above this. Let's say it's this line where you want to put your heel. You'll put a needle through those stitches, like this needle, because you'll be done, so this will be out of there. And then you'll put all these stitches above it on the other needle, and both the needles will be facing the same way. And then you're going to come in and with scissors and snip in between, that little row in between. You're going to cut those, and you've already got your needles on there, and then you're just going to do your heel. So I haven't tried that yet, but it sounds like it really would be pretty easy. It might be a little nerve-wracking at first to cut into your knitted sock, you know, because they take a little bit of time. The socks aren't too bad, and they're so portable. They're so portable. I was going to tell you what the yarn is for my magic heel sock that I'm knitting here. It's Felici's Fingering Weight, and the color is Base Jump. and it is 75% superwash merino wool and 25% nylon. And the weight of this yarn itself is a #1, which means it's a fine, thinner yarn. So anyway, that's what I knit that with. And I really enjoy that Felici. It's soft. I've got some patent sock yarn that I had bought that was on sale, really marked down. It's a nice yarn, but it's a little more rustic. It's a little heavier, but this is very, very soft. It's very economical, but Knit Picks, you would order this online only. Just go to knitpicks.com and look on there and look for they call it Felici yarn. Okay, so we talked about that and that. Now, here's a couple, okay, you might have seen this Sophia scarf by Petite Knit. This has been on Instagram. There's a hashtag, how do you ascot, which means A-S-C-O-T, which is like a little ascot that you tie around your neck. And you could put your picture of yours and just show how you use it. You could tie it on a handbag, on the handle. Like I've got a handle on this basket here. You could tie it on there as you throw it over your shoulder. You could tie it here. You could tie it in your hair. That would really look nice. So I'm going to knit one of these. It is a paid for pattern, but I want to say it was $4. There's 2 different sizes. So it's very popular. If you go on Ravelry, they'll talk about the top, I think it's top 20 patterns that people have purchased or searched for and purchased. And this is one of them. And I'm going to show you another one that was one of the most popular. And I've said I was going to do, okay, here we go. Stephen West. I talked last episode how I was wanting to cast on the Vertices Unite shawl. I have never done any of his shawls before. And he has mystery knit-alongs every October. And I know last episode I'm thinking, there should be one coming up here. Well, there is. And right now you can go ahead and buy the pattern. And of course, he's got suggestions on colors and what you need. And on Instagram, he's been on if you follow him on Instagram, he's been talking a lot about that. He's been putting together some colors and telling you how many skeins you need, and it's fingering weight. And so it's called Twists and Turns. Now, all this is, because I did this early this morning, I want to say it might have been 5:30, 6 o'clock this morning. You know when you wake up and your iPad's sitting next to you on your nightstand and you got your earbuds over there and it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go ahead and buy the pattern. So it's not released until October 6th because that's when everybody's supposed to cast on. But what it does, it tells you all about it, and you can actually go onto YouTube, his YouTube channel, and it has the introduction, it has the kits, and choosing colors. It kind of goes over all that. There's nothing out there that says what this pattern is. All we know is it's a shawl. More than likely it's a shawl. Pretty sure. I think it's a shawl. It should be. He usually only does shawls. Well, he's got some other things out now too. So we'll all find out together. It's called the MKAL. MKAL stands for Mystery Knit Along. So it's all a mystery. And there'll be a series of 4 different clues that you're going to get. I think it's over 2 months. And you'll get a clue number 1. And then it kind of gives you time to get that part completed. And then you'll get another clue. So you really don't know what the shawl looks like. You don't know what's coming up next. But I mean, he has such really, really nice tutorials. And so what he'll do is he'll have tutorials on here as we're knitting it. So I'm going to be talking about that probably, oh, I don't know, maybe a couple months here. I'm not sure how many weeks it's going to take to do it. But here's some different choices that he has in here, different color choices. But I'm not giving anything away here by showing you this because he's had, like I said, he's got some YouTube videos out there on how to choose colors that coordinate. Basically what it is, and I can go ahead and tell you too, because like I said, I'm not giving anything away here. There's no mystery or no secret in what I'm about to tell you. I have made an acquisition. Pearl Soho actually has on there, they had 25% off again. I mean, it was 20 last time, and then it was 25% off during Labor Day weekend. So right now they have the linen quill, which is back here in this basket, and I'll show it to you. They've got linen quill for 20% off, but I got it for 25% off. And so this is what I'm going to use for my Stephen West shawl mystery knit along. So I'll show it to you here. Be right back. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to show you the colors. What you need is you'll need 2 full skeins of a little bit darker color, 2 full skeins of a little lighter color, and then you need 1 skein of a color that's really going to pop, really going to stand out amongst those 2 colors. Well, I like more subdued colors. As you can see, I knit some bright things too, but for me to wear them daily on a daily basis, I like more subdued colors. So here's what the colors that I'm thinking of doing here. I had already purchased, and I had shown you this, I don't know if it was the last episode. This is linen quill, and linen quill is what I had done. Right down here is my half and half triangles wrap. And actually, they have another pattern that they have out now that's called the the striped half and half triangles wrap. That, yeah, it's really, really nice. That's Pearl Soho. So go on their website, and I would actually, if I were you all, I would get on their mailing list, get on their email list, and they will let you know. You're going to know right off the bat when they have sales, new patterns. A lot of them are free, not all of them, but a lot of theirs are free. And that the half and half triangles wrap, this one, and then the striped one, they're both free patterns. So anyway, this is linen quill. This color is rosewood pink. Okay, so I'm going to have, this will be probably my darker color. Okay, this one here. Now, I was thinking, okay, this is peony. Okay, I could do those and then have, whoops. This is hard for me to do. Okay, have these, and then it's not really a pop of color. It's just like a different color. These are both kind of in the pink family. So I could either do wheat flower, okay, or I could do pale mushroom. Oops. That one's coming untwisted. I don't want that to happen. Uh-oh. Okay. So it would either be, let's do it this way. Let's do 1, 2. Okay. So the darker pink, rosewood pink, and this one is peony pink. And then, so that would be 2 of each of these, and then 1 of this one. I forgot what it was called already. Wheat flower. Okay. Or, let me get one that's not coming undone here. Or pale mushroom. I think it's going to be these 3. Well, if I wanted to, I mean, I could even, oh, my other one fell way down there. I could even make these 2 the colors, the main colors, and then have this come as a contrast. I mean, I have enough. I have 2 of each of these, so I've got a lot to work with there to make a decision. So anyway, so that's the Stephen West Mystery Knit Along. I can't wait because I love this yarn so much. It drapes beautifully. And it just feels good in my hands when I'm knitting it. It just feels good. It just feels good. That's all there is to it. I'd recommend that. Okay. I'm gonna put that there and hopefully that doesn't fall over. So that was, whoops, something fell. That was my little birdie. Hope it didn't break. Let's see. Oh, she's fine. Okay. So that was part of my acquisition as part that I was going to talk to you about, was the linen quill. The other one is, now Andrea and Mowry, oh goodness, I talked about the Feel Good shawl, which it's sitting and waiting, and I will do that. I will, I promise. And I was watching Potter's Bloom. I can't think of what her name is. I believe she lives in England. And she was doing the So Faded sweater, pullover, okay? And this is a fingering weight, and what you do is you start with your first color, and I don't know if you do 10 rows of that. I'll have to read it again. And then you'll come with your second color and do a row, and then you go back to the first, do the next row, and you just kind of blend it. And then you're gonna do a totally second row, second color only, and so on and so forth. So there is a yarn dyer that I had gotten yarn from one time. I always hear Cozy Up Knits, the sisters, talk about this yarn dyer. It's her husband and her. I've got it right behind me here. Let me grab these. This is Gingersnap. It's the name of their company. And I would always hear the sisters talk about it. And then I follow them on Instagram. And when you follow these yarn dyers, you'll know when they have sales and everything. Well, well, it's kind of a sale. I'll tell you about this in a second. But the first time I had ever used their yarn, they were having, it was like 3, 4, it was a grab bag. You didn't know what they were going to be. And this is such nice yarn. I thought, oh my goodness. And this is the same yarn base as what I had gotten before. And I was so impressed with it. And then when I saw it was her birthday coming up, and she said, for every order, you'll get a skein free. Well, in my order, of course, I ordered all 3 of these together because I'm going to use them. Aren't they just beautiful? Oh my goodness, they're so pretty. I'm going to use this for the So Faded pullover. And I'm going to, oh goodness, let's see if she's got a picture in here. I just printed this off because on Ravelry, she's got a picture of a little more cropped one and then a 3/4 sleeve. And I don't think it's in here. No. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking about doing. Now, here's the colors. This is called Satin Slip, which is a mauve color. And it has 463 yards, so it's got a little bit more yardage for 100 grams. It's 75% merino and 25% nylon. So you've got a nice amount of nylon in there. That 75-25 is really a nice ratio. And this one's called Heirloom. Okay, that's a speckled yarn. Okay. And then this one is called Antique Lace. So there's some speckle and there's some tonal within this one. So this is going to be my So Faded pullover. So there we go. I'm so excited because you know what? When I purchase hand-dyed yarn, I know I'm supporting a small business rather than a big, commercial yarn company, whether they would exist, a big commercial one, whether, but a small business like that, they appreciate your business, every single skein that is sold, every single little, she also does project bags. So if I can do this every once in a while, I can't do it all the time. I'm realistic with my money, and I do want to purchase nice things, because this is going to last forever. It's going to be an heirloom sweater. It's going to be, I'm just so excited. And I mean, I'm happy for her and for her husband. It's her husband and her run this company. They're doing quite well, and they live in Canada, and I'm just so happy to support them. I think it's important to, like I said, these small businesses, they don't have all the benefits that these big commercial yarn companies do. So they're doing their job, and they're artists. They do just phenomenal work. So anyway, I'm excited to get that going, and we will get that going soon. Now, I had talked about this yarn was Euphoria knits, and I had knit a project with it, and it was a shawl, and I loved it, but I wasn't wearing it. So what did I do? I recycled this already knitted yarn, and this is the color that came with it, or that it was knitted with, and it's by Euphoria Knits also. I can't remember the color of this one. It's like a tonal gray. Okay, when you, and it was blocked. I have blocked this shawl. When you knit with a yarn, you unravel it. It is so kinky. It's just like the whole thing. And this is it. Look. It's all straight now. But I have a video, and I'm going to insert this in here, and it shows you what this one looks like. Of course, the blue one looked the same. When it's all crinkled up, and then you soak it, and you put a little wool wash in there. And I think I let it soak. It wasn't even half an hour, because I'm anxious to get it going. So I let it soak, and what you do, what you do is you want to, of course, it's probably going to be in a ball, because you've unraveled your project, and then you want to get a chair, maybe like this one, and then you're going to sit in another chair, is what I did. And then I sit and just wrapped it around the back, wrapped around the back. And then I took contrasting yarn, just some acrylic yarn that I had, and I took and I wrapped it around. I'll have a picture of it too, and there's another video I can show you how it's placed on this big loop. Okay, but it's all crinkly. So the whole thing is like, oh my goodness, is this gonna work? And I just took sections, 4 places, and tied loosely, really loosely, after I got it out, and after I got all the water out of it with a towel. No, excuse me. I put that on first, and then I put it in the water, because you don't want it to get tangled. You want to keep that big loop intact. So 4 places that I put and tied some pretty long yarn, about that long. I left it loose on there. Put it in the sink, let it soak, got a towel, fluffy towel, rolled it up, stepped on it, back and forth, stepped on it. And then I thought, well, now what am I going to do? What am I going to hang it on? I mean, it's wet. I know the weight of the water can stretch out. So I looked up and I thought, oh, the shower curtain. I'm going to drape it over the shower curtain in our guest bath. So I have a video of that hanging up there, both of them hanging up there. So I hung it up there and let it dry. And of course, the blue one didn't have as much yardage that I had used, because I've got more that's still in a ball. It's never been knit. So anyway, they're hanging up there. And the light gray one, it took a while to dry. And I was so excited to see it. And it had that little bit of smell of that wool wash. And oh my gosh, a little bit of the eucalyptus fragrance too. It's so nice and clean, and it's fluffy again. It's not kinked. And so I'm telling y'all, you knitters out there, if you have got something you're not wearing, unravel it. Unravel it. Put it in some water. And you don't even have, if you don't have wool wash, you don't even have to do that. You can just use, and I used warm water, not hot, and it seemed to do the job just perfect. And of course, you know, my husband, he He's like looking at me. He says, you were on a mission this morning. Was it early on Saturday morning? I think it was. And he's like, oh, you're on a mission. No, Monday morning. You're on a mission, aren't you? And I said, why is that? He said, you got up and I saw you run with that shawl in the other room and then come back and you have all this. I said, I know. He said, I know. I said, it's going to save you money. I said, so anyway, I'm going to knit something with that. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with that yet, but alrighty. Well, I do really have maybe only one other thing, unless something else pops into my mind. I was watching a YouTube and I can't think of what it was. YouTube channel, a podcast, a knitting podcast. Oh, yes, I do. It was the Knitting Stew. I can't think of what her name is, but she's a stewardess and she travels. So that's what the stew stands for. And she had knit these leafy washcloths. And I thought, well, that's pretty appropriate for the fall coming up. And she had said, oh, I forget, I think she just used some wool, really nice wool yarn that she had left over. But this actually says to use, I think it says cotton. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. It's whatever DK weight you have. And she said she did block it because when she knitted it kind of like would curl up in the middle, kind of bump up in the middle. And she said she has given this for gifts with a hand-thrown clay mug that she had bought along with, you know, a few of these. And she said the recipient just thought they were just the best thing, you know, that she really appreciated it. But it's a beginner level and it's free. It's called Leafy Washcloth. It says Trixie, Tracksy, knitter. Her name's Megan Goodacre, just like it sounds, Goodacre, Goodacre, called the Leafy Washcloth, and that's a free pattern. So I was thinking, you know, I talked about knitting some leaves and then making a garland hanging up here or at the fireplace downstairs, and this would look really nice like that. That would look really neat. I mean, you could even do it in fingering weight, you know, and you can, you know, you could even do, I wonder how big it would be. I'm saying these are probably, oh goodness. It probably says on there somewhere the dimensions of it. So I'm thinking they're probably about this big. I think they are because I do remember seeing them. If fingering weight might be that big. Yeah, you could definitely do a garland with that, doing different sizes, different colors, and I really like that a lot. And I drink tea every single morning, and I put a teaspoonful of honey. I get my honey from a yarn shop. It's about half an hour away from me. And they've got a farmer that brings in his honey, and it is so good. And of course, the honey changes depending on what the bee, what's flowering around where the bee lives, where the hive is, and anyway, I do that every day. So I'm going to make some of those leaf coasters, and I'm going to keep some, and I'm going to use them every day. So I think that's all we need to talk about. I'm going to look around here, make sure I talked about everything. Well, I wish you all a good day and a good weekend, and remember to go out there and knit the day. And congratulations to the winner, which I'm going to put in here. Like I said, when I hear back from the winner, then I'll put that person's name in there, and I'll show you the random comment generator, and it'll have her comment that she had put in there. Oh, and real quick, something else I wanted to tell you too. My last video, it has applause at the beginning, and then I'm going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We did it, you know, when getting enough subscribers and so on. And then I also had like this music, like da, 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 kind of music. Well, the music faded in the first, I thought it was going to be completely gone. It did fade, but it was in the background through the rest of the podcast till about 3 minutes at the end. And I have an auditory disorder. I have tinnitus or tinnitus. I have it so bad. I cannot, it's severe ringing of the ears, just to the point where I think I might be going to have to get a hearing aid because there's really nothing we can do about it. But anyway, I can't hear any background sounds. If somebody isn't in the same room with me talking to me, I can hear certain tones, but I feel just terrible about that. So in the drop down in episode 5, I put a note in there and apologized because I did think that was supposed to be faded out, but I put earbuds in and I turned it up as loud as I could, which might be too loud for some people, but it wasn't for me. And then I could barely hear it. Well, all y'all could hear it much louder than I. So sorry about that. And I'm going to have my husband watch my podcast before I upload it to YouTube. But anyway, thanks so much for watching, for commenting, for subscribing. Go out there, like I said, knit the day. You know, that's my phrase, knit the day. And enjoy this cooler weather that's coming. Oh, also I was going to tell you, we're talking about, I'm just noticing my hydrangea back here. Now these are white, and this is what happens when fall gets close. They turn color. They turn this green, and this kind of a chartreuse green, and then this pink. It's tinged in pink, if you can see right here. My husband said one day, he says, "Oh, Bobby," and we just planted these. And we live in the southern part of the United States, and they're grown all over, just beautiful. And I just planted these, and these are more of a dwarf bush. We planted 4 of them. And he says, "Oh my goodness." He says, "Those just look like they're dying." I said, "Well, no, they change colors. This is probably the 3rd color that they've gone into." So we don't have any trees. We have a small lot. We built our house here. It'll be, we'll be in this house, oh goodness, 4 years in November. We'll have moved in here, and we've tried 3 times in the same spot in the front yard to put, I wanted a dogwood tree, and I wanted to be able to see it, you know, from our, as many windows as we could. So the same spot, we tried it 3 different times, and it's just not, you know, not gonna happen. So I don't have trees, but I got my little, to see the leaves changing. Now our neighbors have trees, and they'll blow over in our yard, and that doesn't bother me a bit. There was a beautiful little maple leaf that had fallen into my yard the other day, and I picked it up and I had it sitting in the on the kitchen island, and my husband's like, well, looking at it like, oh gosh, what's she doing now? And I said, you know, this is the first leaf that I have seen that has fallen and that the color has changed. And I said, I'm going to hang on to this. Well, it just shriveled right up. And so I ended up tossing it. But I don't mind people's leaves in my yard, because if they're autumn colors, the more, you know, I'll never have to rake. But I could sure enjoy my neighbors' trees and looking out at their trees and seeing the seasons change. So, well, here we are again, and thanks so much. I will be podcasting again in 2 weeks. I appreciate you and hope you've enjoyed the podcast, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.